You're listening to the Creative Process Podcast. Here you will discover what drives musicians to create music and how they realize that ambition. I'm your host, Jamie Collin, founder of the online independent music magazine, Overblow. This episode is sponsored by Indie Tracks. Indie Tracks is a celebration of independent, creative, and DIY pop music. It takes place on a heritage steam railway site in the heart of the Derbyshire countryside from the 28th to the 30th of July 2017. Go to indietracks.co.uk for more information. The Creative Process is sponsored by Vinylify. Vinylify is an online service that offers consumers the opportunity to create their own unique 10-inch vinyl in a few easy steps. Go to vinylify.com, that's vinylify.com. Upload your own music, personalize your cover and matching labels. Vinylify then cuts the vinyl by hand, presses the cover, and delivers it to your doorstep. We've teamed up with Vinylify to get you 10% off your first order. Simply input the code 63KC7M at checkout. The code is valid until the 10th of July. Simply put, the Melvins are legends. Since forming in 1983 in Montesano, Washington, they have released an astounding 25 studio albums, with the 26th album, A Walk with Love and Death, due on the 7th of July. Pioneers in both sludge metal and alternative rock, they have influenced everyone from Nirvana to Tool to ISIS, the band that is, to Mastodon. I recently spoke to Buzz Osborne, vocalist and guitarist with the Melvins, about how his creative process is like wading through crap and just what he thinks of constructive criticism.
You were on Drawing with Skinner recently.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It was funny. I enjoyed it. But I saw you...
Kill for drugs. Kill for drugs.
Kill for drugs. It was a work of art, Buzz. A work of art.
Clearly.
But you said that creating music for you is like wading through crap.
Yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
So I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Well, I've never been able to just go, I'm going to write a song that's good. I've always had to just write a bunch of stuff that wasn't good, so I found stuff that was good. And I've never found it to be easier than that. So unless you put in the time, it's sort of like, panning for gold. You move, 10 tons of earth to find one half an ounce of something that was good, I play guitar every single day, but sometimes there's just nothing that comes, So what I do is I play things I already know, and maybe I'll play through some cover songs and just practice some, this and that, some, coordination techniques that I like to practice. And then, you'll be jamming on stuff and maybe something will pop out, but there's, I don't know. I can't just go, okay, I'm going to write a song. I can write you a crap song really quickly, but I've never been able to easily write songs that were, that I thought were good. It's always been a struggle. Struggle. So, but I don't have any set way of doing it or any set time of doing it. Like, okay, from 6 a.m. till 4, I am playing this and doing that. No, it doesn't really work. Those things just kind of come to you whenever they come to you. You have no way of knowing when or, but you have to put in the time.
Your iPhone has become essential. I think I read in an interview, you always try and have it around with you to record anything you might come up with.
Well, that's the newest thing. I've had a wide variety of things of that nature over the years. Unless I have a way to record it, I'll just play. If I have nothing to, no way of recording when I'm playing, then I'll just practice things I already know. Just in case I stumble into something and I can't document it.
And I read you also said that you don't favor analog or digital. I read that you said that crappy music essentially can be recorded on either analog or digital. So
that's true.
But so for you, what do you think is the key to like creating a record that has soul and substance?
Well, that has to come from the performer. You can't throw technology at someone and make them soulful. I've never seen that work. Are you saying that you think analog is more soulful?
I suppose what I'm saying is that, like, I think that a very excellent musician who has a lot of soul, if they're recorded badly, that can suck a lot of that soul out of them.
Just because you're using one form or another doesn't mean it's going to sound good. I think people have some funny idea, not necessarily you, but have a funny idea that if it's analog, that automatically has this or that. People have to remember from the 80s, all that synth pop crap was all recorded on analog. It's about the soulless garbage I've ever heard. Jimi Hendrix or people like that would have made records that sounded great no matter how they recorded them. Or the Beatles or the Stones or whoever. I mean, it's just a tool. It's just a way of documenting something. It's nothing more than that. And I know plenty of people who have tons of musical equipment and tons of gear, and they are not creative people, and no matter how much they spend on that sort of thing, it doesn't make any difference. You cannot buy your way into it.
So do you think that your creativity is something that you're kind of born with?
I don't know. I've worked really hard on mine. Like I said, it takes me a long time. It doesn't just come natural to me. I mean, I find no aspect of it easy.
Have you ever worked with any musicians that it seemed to just kind of flow out of?
Terry from the Butcherettes was kind of like me and Dale. But, I have an easier time than most people I've been around writing songs. Most people just don't do it at all, I've never not done it, but I've struggled for it, I've never been around people who just naturally, automatically come up with stuff that's great. I've never seen that happen, I'm sure it's possible, but...
Lots of bands, the longer they get into their career, they kind of tend to rest on past glories and things like that, They seem to get very comfortable. They either nearly stop writing music altogether, or the music that they write becomes quite boring, I guess.
Yeah, that's usually true.
So for me, I think one of the ways that you guys keep things fresh is that you'd often, or not often, but sometimes have a concept that pushes you out of your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
So, for instance, you'd have the covers album and getting Leif Garrett into the Smells Like Teen Spirit, or even the new album with which is obviously partially a soundtrack for the short film.
Yeah.
Do you go out of your way to try and find these type of things, or do you they come along and you?
I go out of my way to figure that kind of stuff out. I'm glad you've noticed. A lot of people don't notice. It's just like, I'm not sure what it is that they're listening to that makes them so comfortable. But I am not happy doing the same thing over and over and over. I like to set up challenges and little, games and all sorts of things like that for myself that see if we can pull it off. I don't know any bands that are doing that, the sorts of stuff that we are. None I can think of. We're fearless when it comes to that sort of thing. But you're going to have critics no matter what you do. But I just can't worry about that. I mean, I do music that I stand behind 100%. And concepts that I stand behind 100%, and I'm really into them. If I wasn't into them, I wouldn't do them. And there's some people who think that we do this kind of thing and that we don't care. It's like, I care more than anybody about what I'm doing. I operate the way I would like bands to operate. I make music that I would appreciate as a fan. So that's what I am first and foremost. So I don't know what it is people think that they have figured out about us, but almost 99.9% of the time they're wrong. They don't get where we're coming from. We did that covers record as a way to show people kind of like what we were into. This is the kind of stuff that you might not have thought of that is a big influence on us. I don't know that people really got that.
What you were saying there kind of reminded me of, I was talking to a Melvins fan online, and I was asking some people what questions I should ask in this interview, and one of them said, could you ask Buzz if he's taking the piss out of us?
No, that's crazy.
This is what I'm saying, though, is kind of getting back to what you were saying earlier on, that people don't quite understand. Some fans think you're actively trying to fuck with them.
That's crazy. That's insane. That's just, they think this is a joke. They're a joke. That's a joke. That's crazy. They think I put this much time and effort into a joke? I'm going to do this because people are stupid. I'm not that perverse. I like what I'm doing. I like things that we do, the choices we make, and I apologize for absolutely nothing. And it's like, if people think, they're laughing all the way to the bank or some bullshit like that while we're ripping people off, I'm like, okay, where's the bank? Show me where this bank is. I'll laugh all the way to it, I mean, if they think that we're getting fabulously wealthy by making weird records and doing hyper-limited release stuff, they're out of their mind. How much do they think pressing a record, getting a hand silk screen cover done, stuffing them all yourself and doing all, how much do they think that costs? Well, they're fucking crazy. And that, to me, it's like, the joke's on you if you think that kind of stuff about us. Where are these hero bands that you're into that always do this amazing shit that always surprise you and that you're completely satisfied with? I don't know where they are, If they want to view a band like us as the enemy, then they have lost the plot completely. I
think so too. I much prefer bands that, not every release is going to appeal to me. some of them I might be like, this one's not really for me. But then every so often one will come along and I'm like, this is fucking class. As opposed to someone who is just, punching the clock and it's every time it's fine,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times with rap bands, they'll put out a record that I'm not necessarily that into. But then, time passes, maybe a year and a half or a year, and I'll get into it. I'll start getting what they're talking about. Oh, yeah, I like this. But I don't really care if people like our records. Mm-hmm. I know I like them, but I don't really care to know that they don't like it. I think they should keep those opinions to themselves because I don't give a fucking rat's ass about listening to someone tell me what they don't like about what I'm doing. Now you've got me on the defensive, and you're not going to win this one,
Yeah.
Now I just think you're just a fucking asshole, and your parents must be a real piece of work, because I can't imagine going up to a band, any band that I cared about at all, or didn't care about, and telling them what I didn't like about what they'd just done. That's just fucking rude. And now you have lost me completely, and I don't want to hear the end of any of those sentences, because I do not want constructive criticism at all. I am not interested in listening to someone tear apart what I'm doing. I've thought about this a lot more than they have, and their opinion matters absolutely not to me. I am doing this. I am really into it. And if you're not into it, keep it to yourself. You are not helping me. You are not helping me.
It seems fair enough. It's like you said that.
I would agree with that if I was taking the piss out of people. I am not taking the piss out of people. I'm not. Anybody that thinks that's out of their fucking mind,
Well, I don't think you're taking the piss out of people, Buzz. But
and not you. I just mean anybody that thinks that they're completely crazy. I'm massively dedicated to my craft.
Absolutely. But it is, I suppose, like you did say to Skinner in that interview that, no matter what you do, millions of people are going to hate it, no matter what.
Millions of people won't like it. I mean, there'll be far more people that don't like what any of us do, Skinner included, than like. I already know that. That's not my target audience. My target audience is a thin sliver of people who think relatively the same as I do. Maybe, that all changes. But I have no idea, crazy notions that we're going to be, headlining Reading Festival or doing some kind of big Coachella type of thing. I don't give a fucking shit about any of that. That's not how I base what I'm doing on that sort of colossal money-driven type of thing. I have no problem with money, but, if we're going to put that kind of thing solely on a money basis or on a success, whatever that is, then we'd have quit a long time ago. We do just fine with what we're doing. As far as we're able to make a living playing music, I'm very, very excited about that, and I don't take it lightly. But I also don't judge myself on the same scale that any other bands along those lines would. I am not a joiner-inner. I don't want to be part of any movement or club or organization. I have no interest. We'll do things over here on our own. And if you can appreciate it, great. If not, I really don't care. Good, go and enjoy whatever it is you enjoy.
This episode is sponsored by Indie Tracks. Each year, around 50 new and established DIY indie pop artists perform across a range of stages at the festival. Visitors are free to enjoy steam train rides, railway attractions and museums, discos, art and craft workshops, great food, and a selection of real ales. Artists performing at this year's festival include The Wedding Present, Kate LeBond, Martha, Joanna Gruesome, Frankie Cosmos, The Tuts, The Wave Pictures, and Skinny Girl Diet. Go to indietracks.co.uk to purchase tickets now. The creative process is sponsored by Vanillify. Vanillify is an online service that offers consumers the opportunity to create their own unique 10-inch vinyl in a few easy steps. Go to vanillify.com, that's VINYLIFY.com. Upload your own music, personalize your cover, and matching labels. Vanillify then cuts the vinyl by hand, presses the cover, and delivers it to your doorstep. We've teamed up with Vanillify to get you 10% off your first order. Simply input the code 63KC7M at checkout. The code is valid until the 10th of July.
I talk a little bit about the new album, A Walk with Love and Death? Approaching that, did the short film come first, or did you work collaboratively at the same time with the filmmaker, or how did it come about?
Oh, the music all came first. The Death album definitely came first, and then as we were making the Death album, well, it's Love and Death. It's all the same. One's called Death, which is a more traditional sounding one, and then the soundtrack one is Love, which is weirder, but it's kind of like as we were doing the other record, I had the idea that we would do stuff that was a little more ambient and weirder, and for another album, and then quickly we realized that we wanted to do a movie as well.
Yeah.
And so a buddy of ours, we got together with him, and that's all getting made at the moment. So the soundtrack and the record will come out at the same time, and then the movie will come out a little bit after, which will have its own release, and then it will also include the soundtrack album that's like the soundtrack edited together completely. So you can have with the DVD, you can buy what the actual soundtrack to the movie sounds like as well.
Okay.
You know, because like the soundtrack in the Love and Death record is songs. You know.
Yeah. Just
like a normal soundtrack would be. You know.
It's not like a score.
Well, it's like if you bought like the Clockwork Orange soundtrack, it's song, 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 song. It's not the entire soundtrack for the movie. So we're going to put that out as well with the DVD. So it's a little different because the movie's 33 minutes, but the soundtrack itself is like 42 or something. So, okay. Just like any other soundtrack, you don't hear the entire song a lot of times in the movie. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be really cool. I've never seen anybody do that. I mean, there probably has, but not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. It's kind of it seems to be taking two different kinds of worlds of the Melvins to kind of put them together, you know? And it's kind of the more kind of song-orientated and more kind of ambient.
A lot of the stuff sounds like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. It's a similar vibe. That hadn't occurred to me when they were doing it. But I have always had an intense love of movies, and I've always thought our music was perfect for soundtrack stuff. Once none of that kind of thing is happening, we'll say, "Oh, we'll just make our own movie and our own soundtrack."
Makes sense, man.
But plus, I'm super into photography as well, and that's not something that a lot of people know. And so, a lot of the movie is going to have a lot of my pictures and video, and
very cool.
Like in the trailer, a lot of the pictures are my pictures.
Cool.
Photography I've done, but that's not something anybody knows I do. You know.
The photography?
No, nobody knows. I'm not trained or anything, but I just have an eye for it.
Do you head out, like taking little trips, taking pictures of things, going for a walk?
Yeah, all over the place. I have thousands and thousands of pictures I've taken for years. I have the same kind of attitude towards that as I do towards making music, which is, you can make music with anything. You can make good music or you can take good pictures with any kind of camera.
Of course.
I'm not one of these guys that thinks iPhones can't take a good picture. Of course they can. They can take a great picture. It's up to you as a photographer to make that work. You can give me any crappy camera, I'll take a good picture with it. Doesn't matter what it is, I will figure out how to make that work. Just like you give me any guitar and any amp, I will make it sound good. Because that's what I do. It's not about the gear. It's about the guy.
About the guy, yeah.
There's a good saying I've always loved called "It's not the arrow, it's the Indian."
That's good. I've never heard that before. I like that.
Yeah, the guy behind the curtain. That's what is important. I've used this analogy a bunch of times, which is you give Jimi Hendrix the worst guitar in the world, the worst amp. He's still fucking Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah,
He's still gonna bury your ass. He will stomp you into the dirt. He'll pound you into the ground like a pin stake because he's good. It's like Dale Crover is a great drummer. If I put him behind the kit, a total garbage drum set, it's going to be good. Steve McDonald, the bass player that we're playing with now, you give him any bass, he'll sound good. You give the guy that we work with, Toshi, we go in and record. We could record with anything you have, any kind of gear, and make a good record. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a 4-track cassette recorder. We will figure out a way to make it work. It's not about the gear. People get tied up in this kind of thing. It's like, it's crazy. No, you're the artist. He gave Dolly a set of color crayons. He came up with something amazing because it's him. Francis Bacon painted on the back of canvases, not on the front. Why? They're masterpieces, arguably some of the greatest paintings done in the last 200 years. or somebody like Andy Warhol worked literally with found objects and came up with, he's arguably the greatest, most important artist of the 20th century. That's the kind of thinking that I like.
The kind of slightly outside the box, left of center thinking.
Yes. Don't get hung up on this side crap.
Yeah.
I have to have this, I have to have that. I don't have to have shit. I did an entire world tour with an acoustic guitar and singing, and it worked. It worked really well. I mean, I can do more of that. I am up for the challenge of doing whatever it takes.
The acoustic stuff was another kind of setting out a challenge, so was it?
No, of course. Can I make this work? I had no idea.
Yeah.
And it worked. So I was really into it. It was really fun. I'll do more of it.
Does the movie have anything to do with the John Huston movie from 1969?
Oh, very good. Nobody ever knows that. No, nothing.
Man, I thought I was onto something there.
No. Well, you are, then that's where I stole the name. But John Huston is my all-time favorite director. He has that kind of thing, too. If you look at his massive body of work, it's all over the map. Everything from Annie to Wise Blood to Treasure of Sierra Madre to Reflections in the Golden Eye to The Misfit. I mean, he's all over the map. And that guy is how I think. He was in a wheelchair with tanks for breathing, and they asked him, is there anything else when he was doing his last movie that he wished he could do? He said, I wish I could make another movie. On his deathbed, those are the heroes. Not I wish I could go on vacation,
Yeah.
I wish I had weekends off. What the fuck is a weekend?
Yeah.
Nobody gets successful only working 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's not possible to do. If that's what you have set yourself up for, that I will work 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday, and take weekends off, you are going to be destined to massive mediocrity. It will be radiant mediocrity.
But that's all.
You have to work a lot more than that.
A lot of people are
on it.
A lot of people are quite happy with that, though.
I'm not arguing that. I just said if you want to be successful, then you're going to have to work a lot more harder than 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
You cannot become successful. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if success to you is making millions of dollars. You ain't going to do that only working 40 hours a week. Do you think a CEO at a corporation who gets multi-millions of dollars and is in charge of 20,000 employees, do you think he has Saturday and Sunday off?
I don't think he has any time off.
Right. Why should he?
Especially
or she. They're getting paid a massive amount of money, and with that comes massive responsibility. That's the key to their success. Is their willingness to do that.
Willingness to do the thing that the person next to them isn't willing to do.
Right. They're willing to work a lot harder than 40 hours a week. Paid vacations and all that kind of crap. Are you kidding? That's insane. That's just nuts.
You'd see that as
me.
You'd see that as the secret to the Melvins' success as well, yeah?
Never stop. You keep going. You keep doing it. Move on.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Creative Process Podcast. Make sure to check out the show notes in our podcast section at overblown.co.uk. Here you will find links to everything mentioned in this episode. Overblown and the Creative Process Podcast are both an entirely DIY venture. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can become a patron of Overblown at patreon.com/overblown. See you down the front.